The new exhibit, I Am a Man, opens January 28th at the Irving Archives and Museum.
Jenn Landry is here with all the details. Thanks so much for coming today, Jen. It's great to see you.
Yeah. Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
So I love this exhibit. Everything that I've heard about it, can't wait to see it. But I don't want to go on and on. Tell us what this exhibit is dealing with.
Yes, so this is I Am a Man, and it's civil rights photographs from 1960 to 1970. So it looks at that decade where there's just this huge transformation happening in the country, and the civil rights movement is, I mean, it's really the heat of it. And many of the images, it's a photography show, and many of the images you'll recognize, but there are also photographs in it that are not as recognizable, and it documents the movement across the South. And then one of the neat things about this exhibition is it also ties in a timeline of the decade itself. And so it's not just civil rights, it's, you know, science and technology and the different, just this rapid transformation and disruption that is happening during that decade. And you can see how it's this bigger holistic event happening, not just these isolated incidents.
Yeah. Well, I guess you touched on the photographs. So what kinds of photographs, as far as like who took them or were they,
Yeah, so some are professional photographers, but then there's also a lot of young photojournalists that go on to have, you know, esteemed careers, but you know, still very young people during the movement, and they're in the movement. I mean, they're on the front line, and so these are personal, you know, up close images of the protests, of people engaged in the movement, and some just very intimate and personal. Like there's one of someone's feet on the march from Selma to Montgomery. You know, they're blistered because they've been walking, and so just really some real personal touching images.
It's so interesting to me that many of us forget, because the folks who were in the leadership of the civil rights movement at the time were, you know, adults. So many of the people who were the foot soldiers were young, some even teenagers. You think about John Lewis, I don't think he was 18 yet. So, I mean, it's really interesting that they decided to include photographs by those kinds of folks in the exhibit as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's such an importance of, you know, students involved in the movement, I mean, the youth of the movement. And then there's also images of older people. So there's an image of a 105-year-old woman in 1965 registering to vote. So she's formerly enslaved, and she's now registering to vote. I mean, so just, you know, the spectrum of what it took to move us forward in terms of justice.
I have to ask you, where did the name for the exhibit come from?
So I'm a Man, I'm gonna read the quote because I don't wanna mess up. So I'm a Man actually comes, so in 1968, the Memphis sanitation workers go on strike because they're really being treated unjustly. 2 black men died being crushed during, you know, by the sanitization garbage machines. Dr. King goes several times to Memphis to support the strike. And Reverend James Lawson, in a message to the strikers, says, "For at the heart of racism is the idea that a man is not a man." And so from that, they developed the placard that says, "I am a man." So basically standing up and saying, you know, I am a man, and I'm a person, and I matter, and I need to have equality and be treated justly.
It's an iconic picture. I'll never forget it.
Well, and that statement, that's powerful. Well, what do viewers need to know when visiting the museum?
So I would like to emphasize we are a safe place. I know that in this time, I mean, myself, I, you know, think carefully about where I'm visiting and what I'm doing right now. And, you know, we have put together a strong safety plan. We've been fortunate the city has upgraded our HVAC systems. We have top of the line filtration. Sanitization happens daily. And it's a space that's wide open, and so it is very easy to socially distance. So I would encourage you, if you're looking for something to do, maybe you just want to see a place other than your own 4 walls. It is a safe respite, and just, I think, you know, we encourage people just to come if they just want to come sit and look out the windows. But the exhibitions certainly give you a nice reprieve. So.
Well, I am really looking forward to this.
Yeah,
that era is one that I don't think you could ever learn enough about it, because it had such an impact on where we are today. So, so everyone, The exhibit is called I Am a Man, Civil Rights Photographs in the American South, and it runs from January 28th to March 16th. Visit IrvingArchivesandMuseum.com for more information.